Welcome to Silicon Valley Nonprofits, a service of KMVT Community Media. I'm Bev Lenahan, your host, and today our guest is Julie Eades, Executive Director of Cake4Kids. Thank you for coming, Julie. It's nice to have you here.
Nice to meet you.
Well, now, who doesn't love cake? I can't imagine anyone not wanting to hear about cake. But you go at it from a different point of view. It's not just eating cake, it's cake with a purpose. Tell us a little bit about Cake4Kids and how it's helping the community.
Sure. Well, at Cake4Kids, we bake and deliver birthday cakes, free custom birthday cakes for underserved children. They could be children in any kind of circumstance, normally at or below the poverty line, associated with some kind of human and social services agency. And they can request any kind of cake that they want. The flavor, the theme, and we get crazy themes, the color, obviously if they have any allergies. And all of these cakes are baked by volunteer bakers.
Oh, isn't that a nice model to have people wanting to bake cakes? Maybe their kids are gone and they want to help out.
Right.
And then to be able to say how you want it, to have your own theme, that's pretty special.
It really is special. And we've seen so many Elsa cakes, Paw Patrols, Minions. For a long time, no 49ers cakes, but they've come back now. Everybody's requesting those again.
Oh, yes, that's cyclical, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
Who we like in sports, right?
Exactly. Steph Curry is never out of business on a cake. People always want Steph Curry cakes.
I can understand that. My goodness. Well, there are a lot of childhood needs around the work that you do. It's not just happy cakes. Tell us about the real work that you do.
Right. So we come across a lot of circumstances. Some of the children and youths, I should say, we go from the age 1 to 24.
Ah, okay.
So the children and youths that we serve come from various circumstances. They could be in a domestic violence agency with their mother. They could be in a homeless shelter, or just being serviced by a low-income family services agency, be in a foster care system, really in very, very different circumstances. The one thing that is true, that they probably haven't started their lives the best way through no fault of their own. And our job is to try and make that special day really memorable. And we hear all the time, not only about the children, but also the social workers and the volunteers, how it really helps them. We've had volunteers who've come to us from personal tragedies, people who've lost people in their lives, and they find that the baking is really cathartic.
Healing.
Yeah, really healing. Or social workers who are dealing with teenagers, sometimes not the easiest thing.
No.
And by giving them a birthday cake, they really sort of gain their trust. And then you've got the young kids who, you know, have hand-me-downs, they really don't have anything of their own, and they realize all of a sudden with this cake that it's something special for them with their name on it. It wasn't baked for anybody else, baked with some love, and they start to have a little bit of trust in other people.
Oh, good.
And it helps to raise their self-esteem and confidence.
It's the little things, isn't it?
It really is, and it takes a village.
And it takes a village. So how many cakes are we talking about, and what area do you serve?
Right, yeah, so when we started 10 years ago, we baked 13 cakes just in Santa Clara County. So we're coming up to our 10th anniversary in September this year, and last year, in 2019, we baked 5,177 cakes.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
In 10 counties in California and 1 in Virginia. This year, we're just actually on Monday about to open up in DC and then in Chicago. So in 2020, we'll likely bake about 7,000 cakes, and they are all baked by home bakers who volunteer their time.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I like the fact that you check on allergies and all of that ahead of time.
Yes, and we get all sorts of allergies. You know, obviously the normal one is nuts, but you know, a lot of gluten-free, vegan, sometimes sugar-free, sometimes egg-free. You know, we take it all. We're very careful about that, which you have to be, of course.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, how does a child get recommended for a cake? How does that process work?
Right. We partner with human and social services agencies, so you know, foster care system, group homes, et cetera, and the social workers or the caseworkers at the agencies who look after the children, they put in the requests on behalf of the children. And once again, they can request the theme, the color, the flavor, whatever it is. And some people go crazy on the themes. We often have to Google them because we're not sure what they are. And then we put that onto what we call the Cake4Kids Baker Portal. And then our bakers can go on and look at their county, and they can decide what kind of cake they want to bake. They buy the ingredients, they bake the cake, they decorate it, and then they deliver it to the agency. They never get to see the child for all sorts of privacy concerns.
Of course.
So it really is a truly selfless volunteering opportunity. They get nothing in return. If we get feedback, we provide it to the volunteers, but they just let it go. They bake the love into it and then they let it go. And sometimes we are contacted directly by, in fact, this morning we were contacted directly by a CASA, a court-appointed special advocate, and he had a youth in his life who he was looking after and wanted to know how he'd get a cake. So
that
we
was
reach out
kind
to
of a
them.
direct.
Exactly, we get and then we can direct them back to the agency that they're associated with and get the cake baked for them.
Good, because I'm sure you have to keep track of all that. That's
With 7,000 cakes, that's a big database.
Yes, you do. Well, my mom loved to bake and decorate cakes, and she was really, really good at it. And so she would do that for my nephews and nieces and grandnephews and nieces. And I think if she were alive today, she would love to take part in Cakes4Kids and be able to release some of that creativity and also the energy and doing a good work. Yeah.
Well, there's only so many cakes you can actually personally eat.
Yes. Well, I know you're a small but mighty agency. How else do you, besides your portal, how else do you coordinate this process, which is mammoth in what you do in a year?
Well, we rely on our website. So volunteers come onto our website, they fill out the form, and then once we've checked all of their data, then we invite them to an in-person orientation session.
Good.
So everybody has to come to an in-person orientation session. We don't teach them how to bake, but we talk about our guidelines. We talk a lot about the population and why they should care. We also talk about the cake for a 24-year-old is just as important as the cake for a 5-year-old. In fact, sometimes it's more impactful because some of these youths at the age of 20 have never had a cake before. In fact, when we give them a cake, sometimes they don't know what to do.
It's hard to even imagine.
It really is. And then the agencies, we work with them. They have a separate link that they put all the information in about the cake. And then we check and verify everything's correct. And then that ends up actually on the baker portal. And then the bakers can see for their particular county which children they like to bake for. They get a snapshot of the information, the address, the delivery time, the theme.
How do the volunteers come to know about you?
You know, a lot on the internet, a lot of Nextdoor these days. A lot
good
of
old Nextdoor.
Exactly, good old Nextdoor. And just people networking. You know, I bake for this organization. I love it. Peer recommendations also, and any media
The best
that we
kind,
get.
right?
The best kind, yes, exactly.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, give us an insight of an example how a life might be changed by the work you do.
Right. We have so many, but there's one that I tell quite a lot, which was last year we had a 14-year-old girl who requested a cake, and it was just a soccer-themed cake. And she did not want her name or happy birthday written on the cake. So we respected her wishes, and a volunteer baked the cake, dropped it off, delivered it to her. And about a couple of weeks later, we received a note in the mail. She asked us to pass on the note to the baker. And the note read something like this: "Thank you so much for the cake. It was really lovely, just exactly what I wanted. I want to explain to you why I didn't want my name or happy birthday on the cake. My birthday doesn't represent a good memory for me because my parents' rights were terminated and I was put into the foster care system. But my social worker tells me I should be positive because I will be adopted and I do want to live with a family again. So if I'm adopted, I will use my adoption date as my new birthday. If I'm not adopted, I will use my emancipation date as my new birthday. But I do hope that next year you will receive a request from me that says happy birthday on my name, and you will know that I've been adopted."
So touching.
And she was 14, right, to write that.
14, my goodness. And so she had hopes, dreams, longings, and she was being optimistic.
She was being optimistic. We had one other where it was a young girl, and she happened to be associated with a homeless agency, and she wrote how she really loved the cake. It was just exactly what she wanted. And she said that we haven't had cakes in the past because we couldn't afford them or because we were homeless and had nowhere to bake them.
Yes.
And she said she took the time to savor every moment of eating the cake so she could remember it and it would last in her memory.
And I'm sure it will.
Yes.
Share with our viewers how to get a hold of Cakes4Kids.
The best way is to go online at www.cake4kids.org. That's
Cake4Kids.
Yeah, CAKE, the number 4, KIDS.org.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for being with us today, Julie. We're really loving the work you're doing. Keep it up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.